let's talk about S-Bahns. If you've ever been to Germany, you've likely heard of them, but they're not some unique thing that only exists in Germany. I would argue that the London Overground and Merseyrail networks are S-Bahns, and that we really should be seeing more of them because frankly, they are a solution that a lot of cities and even regions could do with. So what exactly is an S-Bahn? Well, the way I would describe it is, imagine if a metro and a suburban rail had a baby. The definition of S-Bahn is vague, but Wikipedia has a sort of definition where an S-Bahn is a rail system that serves the commuter belt as well as cities, neighbourhoods and city centre with a metro-esque service. S-Bahns are not separate or semi-separate systems like metros, and instead use mainline tracks and stations. They mainly run frequent clock-face time stopping services to serve local areas at small stations and interchanges, much like a metro does, except of course on mainline metals. They also tend to run through a city centre rather than terminate at a city centre, thus allowing for quick journeys from one side of a city to another. S-Bahns differ from commuter rail in the sense that rather than taking people to a central destination, they allow for movement throughout the city. The 5 Circle or Glasgow-Edinburgh line generally channels people to and from Edinburgh and Glasgow. An S-Bahn is designed for people to get across a city as well as into a city centre, for example from Edinburgh Gateway to Brunston. An S-Bahn could have a separate ticketing system allowing for cheaper metro-style fares as well as integration with the bus and tram systems, meaning that places like Livingston could run an express bus service between their 2 stations via the town centre, and passengers can use it on one ticket. An S-Bahn also allows underserved lines of stations to receive a regular predictable service, and allows for the rail service to run quicker intercity or country services that otherwise would have had to stop at smaller stations. Stations on the lines to Livingston South or Fife don't necessarily see many passengers heading to Glasgow or Perth, but they certainly see a lot of passengers heading to Edinburgh, Fife or Livingston. A lot of major city termini have through platforms like Waverley does, meaning that rather than clog up the bay platforms for a couple of hours with terminating services, you could have quick regular services that arrive, unload and load passengers, and then leave to serve stations on the other side of the city. ScotRail already does this during rush hour to save space with services, namely with the North Berwick and Livingston South lines and the Borders and 5 Circle lines. This type of system is attractive because it doesn't need a lot of infrastructure to be put in place, and is a good option for places like Edinburgh which can't really build a metro, but has a large commuter belt with ample railways. And I have made no secret of my support for grade separated public transport.